People modify cars for a lot of different reasons. For some, it's their dream car, a car that they've always wanted or had their eye on. It's that car that is just the one for them. For others, it's a need. The car serves a purpose, be it drag racing, drifting, or circuit racing. The car is built for a purpose and to excel at its purpose. The story of my car is a bit different. It was just simply there. I originally purchased the car for $600 as a daily driver to work and a grocery getter for the fam. I never expected the car to be anything more than that. For me, the car was just simply there. It was a nugget, but it was my nugget. At the time I started thinking about modifying my car, I was considering saving for my dream car, an R32 GTR. But I already had this car, and with only a handful of turbo V6s in Australia at the time, I decided to make my grocery getter as fast as I could. So it first started life with the use of an RB20 turbo, a janky ass passenger manifold and crossover pipe I booger welded together with my very little welding experience. I slapped it on there with no tune, fuel pump, or even an intercooler or anything. And it was rubbish. It made some chooching noises that at the time I thought was the best thing ever, being my first turbo car, but it made no power and was running so lean it broke up under high load or basically anything over half throttle. So I gave up on it for quite a while. Just before starting a Cert 2 in light vehicle mechanical, I found a used eBay T70 for sale on Gumtree and determined to meet a new goal of 300 horsepower, I set out to mount it and make it happen. Being a TAFE student with very little money, out came the gasless MiG for a new set of booger weld manifolds. For the intake pipe, I rented a gas bottle to weld up a stainless intake pipe with the MiG and cobbled together my first turbo kit. With my eyes set on my 300 horsepower goal, I added a big fuel pump, an intercooler and a water meth injection kit. With a set of used 300cc injectors, I now needed a tune. And with very little companies that I could find to tune it, and with them costing quite a lot of money, a standalone ECU out of reach as well, I started researching a way to tune the car and found PCM hacking and decided to go with a VR Auto ECU and one of their NVRAMs and cables to suit. So off I went to start my tuning journey once it arrived. So after a lot of trial and error, well, more error than anything, I put together my first tune, and on 10 psi, maxing out the 300cc injectors with the water methanol kit, I achieved my 300 horsepower goal on 98 pump speed. But it was short-lived. I converted the stock auto to a GetDrag 5-speed and made some mistakes with a boost controller. And with a 30 plus psi boost spike, it spat the factory head gasket out the side of the engine. So I did the only logical thing and changed over to ARP head studs and Cometic head gaskets. But that wasn't to be either. As I was still learning to tune, I had too much timing at 15 psi, and the head or block or both probably wasn't the flattest, and it spat the Cometic out the same side as before. So I decided to pull the motor out and build it better than ever before. I started ordering all the parts I would need, and over The next 12 months, I pieced it together, aiming for my new goal of 500 horsepower. Once I got it running, I set out to work on the new tune and put the car on E85 for the first time. A couple of months pass and I took it out to the drag strip with a set of used Hoosier bias pliers on the back. And the car ran its best time of 12.4 at 110 mile an hour that I still haven't been able to beat to this day. A month prior to this, it had spat another chromatic head gasket and broke a valve guide. I had slapped it back together and sent it, and it still managed to run what I thought was a reasonable time. Fast forward a month or two from the drag strip, and the car is feeling strong, my tune is getting dialed, and at a downshift meet, I randomly decided to stick it on the dyno and see what it was making. And it pumped out my 500 horsepower goal like it was nothing. I had a rough idea kind of what it was making, but I did not actually expect it to be making that sort of power, and I was pumped. Having the get track explode from a clutch kick a while back, I converted it to a T56 and was breaking a few egos. getting keen as fuck to beat my PB and run a 10-second pass. Having just converted the car to a standalone ECU and not knowing how to properly mark the balancer for the engine timing, it turned out it was 4 degrees advanced. And at the time, I didn't know it, so at the track, the car seemed a bit down on power. Naturally, you add a bit of timing in and see if it picks up on some mile an hour, meaning it's made power, and ultimately hurt the motor. So out it came again, and I managed to catch it just in time, about to spin a bearing. Seeing as I was sus on the previous bore job, I took the opportunity to fix it and make my best set of turbo manifolds yet, changing from the previous log style manifolds that it made the 500 horsepower on to a collector style to see if it would gain any response. The rest, most of you know. Over the next 14 months, some questionable machine work, I pieced the beast back together with a new goal of 700 plus horsepower and a 10-second or faster quarter mile time. At this point, I've owned the car for more than 7 years now, and the paint was getting very sad. There was dints in most panels, and it was just looking very tired. So about the same time the engine was ready, I painted the engine bay, plopped the engine back into it, and proceeded to ruin some of it with fire. Then, after fixing the crispy loom, I got it running again and took it to a friend's house where, over the next month or two, we would bust our ass to make the grocery getter nugget a bit prettier. This brings us to today. I've nearly given up on this car many times, and I'm kind of on my last straw with the car's heart, but it's small moments of victory or plain awesomeness that keep me hooked. It just goes to show that no matter what life throws at you or what you fuck up, just keep at it, and eventually it will all come together. If I didn't, I wouldn't have the beast I do today. Now, without further ado, I present my 1998 Turbo Ecotec V6 BT Berliner in its fresh new colour, looking the best it ever has, and hopefully the fastest it ever will be.
When all the rivers flow into the ocean, every little wind turns into storms. What if everybody's used to their own features? What if we got nothing more than this? Please remember what I said about magic. Remember what I told you about us. Please remember what I said about magic. Remember what I told you about us. About us. seems to go.